Discover the sinister secrets of Indian art, 7 spine-chilling, haunted masterpieces revealed. Sarah felt the weight of the world pressing down on her as she wandered through the dusty aisles of the thrift store, the air thick with the scent of old wood and forgotten memories. It was a typical Saturday in Oak Ridge, the kind that promised nothing but the hum of ordinary life. But there, amid the faded clothes and chipped porcelain, was a painting that radiated an unsettling energy. The colors danced with a life of their own, swirls of crimson and gold that seemed to pulse as she stepped closer. Instinctively, she felt a chill race up her spine. As she lifted the artwork, her hands trembled. It was heavier than it appeared, as if weighed down by all the secrets it held. "What a find!" the elderly shopkeeper exclaimed, but Sarah felt no joy. Instead, a nagging unease settled over her like a dark cloud. That night, shadows flickered in her modest home, transforming familiar shapes into ominous figures. Lily, her 6-year-old daughter, giggled erratically in her room, her voice ringing out with words of a friend unseen. A rhythmic tapping came from the walls, sending jolts of fear through Sarah. She tried to brush it off, but dread crept in. Tonight felt different. Over the next few days, the unease spiraled. Sarah found herself drawn to the piece, each glance at its surface stirring an inescapable attraction and fear all at once. When she sat on the couch, the painting seemed to watch her. In her frantic search for answers, she uncovered unsettling tales of horror surrounding its creators. Misfortune, madness, or worse, the words echoed in her mind. The tiny town around her turned cold, neighbors she once shared friendly chats with glanced away, skepticism and fear in their eyes. Anxiety bubbled, leaving her feeling like an outcast. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each day, Sarah's heartbeat quickened as she connected more dots of the paintings past a thread of despair woven through its canvas. She even encountered an elderly woman from the neighborhood, frail but fierce, who leaned closer, her voice a horrified whisper, "You must get rid of it. There's a curse, a darkness." But Sarah hesitated. Autumn leaves swirled outside, and hope flickered that perhaps this artwork held beauty yet to unveil. Then tragedy struck. Lily, her vibrant spirit dulled by feverish nightmares, murmured about her friend, leading her to places shrouded in shadows. Panic consumed Sarah. She sought help, but the local police dismissed her worries with eye rolls, shrugging off her frantic calls. Another paranoid single mom, they whispered in the station. Alone in her terror, Sarah dove into flickering tales of spirits, a desperate bid for hope amidst engulfing darkness. Returning to the store had been a wild thought, but it offered a sliver of hope. When she arrived, she was met with boarded-up windows and an eerie quiet like the painting had erased the very essence of the shop. Heart racing, she felt trapped within a nightmare. The fleeting comfort she had sought in her fellow teachers only turned sour when one, a once trusted ally, revealed an obsession with the same cursed artwork that now haunted her. As shadows closed in fast, Sarah took a deep breath, knowing she had to confront whatever had entered her home, an entity fully aware of her fears and her love, the very foundation of her existence. Time was running out. What would she sacrifice to save her daughter from the darkness lurking just beyond the veil? The walls of Sarah's home shimmered with a foreboding energy as she stumbled back inside, gripping Lily's favorite teddy bear in one hand and the cursed painting in the other. The air grew thick and heavy, and shadows danced chaotically around her. She winced as a loud bang echoed through the hallway, like a heart pounding in warning. It was as if the house itself was breathing, alive with a sinister urge to reveal all it had concealed. "Lily!" she called, her voice clawing at her throat. She raced to her daughter's room, panic warping her thoughts. The door creaked open, revealing a scene that froze Sarah in place. Lily sat in a corner, her back turned, staring blankly as whispers faintly echoed through the room. The light bulb above flickered erratically, casting phantoms of shadow across the walls. Her daughter's giggle pierced through the darkness, chilling Sarah to the bone. "Mommy, my friend says I can come play," Lily chimed, her voice sweet and innocent yet tainted with something else, something dark. "Lily, no." Sarah hurried forward, but something seized her heart, a strange tightness that weighed down her feet. "You need to listen to me." "We have to, I don't want to." Lily shrieked suddenly, her voice tinged with anger. "She says you're trying to take me away." A spinning dread filled Sarah's chest. Fear coursed through her veins. It was as if the air around them thickened, becoming suffocating. "Who?" she managed to whisper, terrified of the answer. "The friend. She's really nice." Sarah tried to sound steady. "Honey, I need you to tell me who she is." "Her name is Ronnie," Lily replied, matter-of-factly, and the name sent a shiver rocketing down Sarah's back. Tales of the cursed painting began flooding back, of spirits bound to it. Each faint brushstroke had told a story of anguish, despair, and lost the very essence of the artist's tormented life. "Lily, you have to get away from her," Sarah shouted, panic fueling her words. But as soon as the plea left her lips, the room grew colder. A low growl vibrated through the walls, the shadows swirling as if alive. Lily's laughter echoed again, the sweetness of it turned bitter. "She doesn't want you to take me away. They all want to play with us." "No. You don't understand." As Sarah reached out to grasp her daughter, flickering shapes swirled around them, forming whirling tendrils that began to creep closer. Each shape whispered garbled words, spinning a web of ancient curses, fueled by the life lost through the painting. "The darkness is here," a sultry voice echoed from the storm of shadows, as if carried by the wind. "What will you sacrifice?" Frozen, Sarah clutched the painting, grappling with its weight, feeling an impulse to throw it away yet entrapped in her maternal instinct to save her daughter. "Your love." The whisper droned, as the shadows shifted into faces of the tortured souls that had once created this horror. Their eyes stared deep, longing for release. That in a moment of clarity surrounded by chaos, she recognized that this darkness had no intentions of letting them go so easily. The time for decisions hung heavy in the air. But could she truly face the sacrifice the shadows demanded? Suddenly, the air erupted in a piercing scream, a sound that belonged neither to Lily nor Sarah. As the walls began to pulse rhythmically, Sarah felt her heart racing, a frenzy of dread crashing over her like waves threatening to swallow her whole. Something inside her resolved. She wouldn't allow this entity to claim her daughter. "Lily, hold on to me," she shouted. But just as she reached for her daughter, despair clawed at her. The shadows surged forward, and a chilling laugh echoed through the space, drowning out her cries. And then darkness fell. What would await them in the silence that followed? What horrors had they unleashed? A heavy void swallowed the room, thick and suffocating. Sarah's chest heaved as she fought to gather herself, the darkness whispering secrets that clawed at her sanity. All she could hear was a whispering chaos, like 1,000 voices merging into one desperate plea filled with malice. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled. The shadows twisted, morphing into forms that pressed in around her. Panic surged like fire through her veins. She had to move. "Lily!" she shouted, but the sound echoed back to her, swallowed by the menacing darkness. She could feel the cool air brush against her skin, carrying the chilling presence of Ronnie. A flicker of light appeared at the edge of her vision, outlining a small figure. Heart pounding, Sarah turned, and there was Lily, standing in the same spot, but her expression was different now. Her eyes were void, distant, as if she were a mere puppet controlled by the forces surrounding her. "Mommy?" came Lily's voice, but it no longer held the innocence it once had. "Mommy, I want to play." "No. This isn't you, darling. Fight it." Sarah screamed, reaching for her daughter, but the shadows lashed out, wrapping around her legs like iron chains. Each tendril pulsed with a cold energy, squeezing tighter as she tried to advance. Realizing she couldn't let fear paralyze her, Sarah shook herself free. In a surge of desperation, she hurled the painting across the room. It hit the wall, the glass shattering, and an otherworldly wail erupted. The shadows recoiled. An electric tremor passed through the air, vibrating every surface in the room. "Mommy, don't!" Lily wailed, fear cutting through her voice. "She's going to be angry." "Lily, listen to me. Ronnie is not your friend," Sarah shouted, trying to break through the haze. But the edges of her vision warped, disorienting her. Just as Sarah felt hope flicker, the floorboards creaked beneath her, splintering with a violent crack. And then, it happened. A figure emerged from the now glass-framed painting. It was Ronnie, a translucent silhouette, regal yet twisted with rage, her eyes burning like embers in the dark. "Foolish mother," Ronnie hissed, her voice dripping with venom. "You've released me, yet you still think you can claim your child. What shall you offer instead? The living or the dead?" The walls pulsed again, an ominous reminder that Sarah was trapped, a pawn in a deadly game. Ronnie advanced, extending blackened hands towards Lily, whispering sweet nothings that twisted into chilling promises. "Join us, dear one. All your games will make you strong," Ronnie cooed as shadows encircled Lily, wrapping around her as if they were lovers inviting her into an embrace. "No!" Sarah yelled, her breath ragged, fighting against the shadows binding her. "Lily! You have to believe me." But as Sarah reached again for her daughter, it felt as if time shattered. The world shifted around them, each heartbeat echoing in the silence that followed Ronnie's twisted grin. Sarah's eyes darted, searching for answers in this nightmare. How can I save her? She thought desperately, feeling the weight of hopelessness slide over her. Tears streamed down Lily's face. "Mommy, I don't want to, I'm scared." "Then fight, baby. Fight with me." Sarah shouted, but the shadows pressed in hard, and as Sarah strained against their grip, she felt a sharp pang. Blood seeped from an unseen wound on her arm, and with it came a chilling realization, Ronnie wasn't just a ghost. She was feeding off their pain, their fear. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the chaos, a melodic yet mournful sound from the shadows. "Why do you want to take her back? You have to understand, bonds can be forged in darkness." The shadows pulsed with renewed energy, echoing their hunger. There was no way out, no escape from this twisted nightmare unless sacrifices were made. But what would Sarah have to give? Would she dare cross the line between saving her daughter and losing herself forever? The question lingered, hanging in the thick, warm air, as the shadows began to swirl faster around them. In the suffocating darkness, Sarah realized a dreadful truth: to save her daughter, she might have to pay the ultimate price. The shadows writhed around Sarah, their tendrils whispering sinister promises that tugged at her mind. Each breath pulled in icy air, filling her lungs with dread. She felt as if the darkness wanted to consume her, wrap her in despair so she would no longer fight. But no. She couldn't yield, not to Ronnie, not to this nightmare. "Fight, Lily!" Sarah cried again, her voice cracking. She had to reach her daughter, had to break through the veil that Ronnie had draped over her. With a surge of determination, Sarah gathered what strength remained within her, twisting and pulling at the shadows with a sudden ferocity. "We can break this. Together. Please, sweetheart, you have to trust me." But each word felt like a drop of hope mingling with the sludge of despair. Lily's face remained etched with fear, her small form trembling in the relentless grip of Ronnie's darkness. The shadows tightened around her, threatening to pull her further into the void. "Mommy, I don't know if I can," Lily whimpered. "Just remember who you are," Sarah shouted, her heart racing. She thought of the times they'd laughed together, the stories they read, the way Lily would curl up beside her, safe and sound. "You are strong. You are my daughter. Stand with me." The very air crackled as Ronnie sneered, her laughter echoing through the room like nails on a chalkboard. You are wasting your breath, foolish woman. Strength lies in surrender, in accepting the darkness. She shall embrace it, and you will watch as it consumes you both. In that moment, Sarah's fingers brushed against the shards of glass strewn across the floor from the broken painting. A memory flashed before her the last time she stood against something terrifying. She reached out for the jagged piece, her heartbeat echoing, all at once desperate yet hopeful. Ronnie! Sarah shouted, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her gut. You think you can control us? You think you have power over what you've destroyed? I want to let you have her. With a fierce determination she didn't know she possessed, she gripped the glass shard tightly. It felt cold and heavy, a weight she could wield against the shadow's grip. The darkness recoiled, and for a heartbeat, the whispers faded. Ronnie's eyes flickered with surprise, a crack in her malevolent facade. Mommy? Lily's voice broke through the fog, a tiny ember piercing through the blackness. Can I still be me? You are you, and always will be. Sarah urged, gripping the shard tighter, her blood mingling with the remnants of the broken frame, the warmth grounding her in reality. We'll fight together. As the shadows coiled around them again, Sarah focused on the connection between them, the warmth and love cutting through the cold void. She couldn't let Ronnie win. She brought the shard closer, her heart racing, the air thick with anticipation. Ronnie hissed angrily, her form flickering, shadows swarming like a frenzied storm around them. You will regret this choice, mother. Not now. I am reclaiming my daughter. Sarah yelled, her voice ringing out, reverberating with an energy that transcended the terror encircling them. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground again, but this time, it felt different, like the energies were realigning, like the storm was breaking. And for the first time, the shadows hesitated. Was this the moment Sarah had been waiting for? Yet, the question lingered in her mind, heavy as the darkness pressing down. Was reclaiming Lily enough? Or was Ronnie merely biding her time, ready to unleash a far greater horror than either of them could imagine? Just as the shadows began to split, Sarah's heart pounded louder than ever. She had to act fast, there was no time to waste. The answer to this nightmarish equation hung in the balance. Lily, let us show her what true strength looks like. And as the tendrils of darkness surged toward them again, Sarah knew they had to make their stand before it was too late. But with Ronnie's fury growing, what would be the cost of their defiance? The shadows suddenly lunged, sweeping toward Sarah and Lily in a chaotic whirl of dark tendrils. Time distorted as a palpable pulse of dread filled the space, an electric charge weaving through the air. Sarah tightened her grip on the shard, feeling the sharp edges bite into her palm, a reminder of her humanity, of the fight that lay ahead. Now, Lily! She shouted, her voice cutting through the suffocating darkness. On the count of 3, we strike together. 1, 2. Lily looked up, fear dancing in her wide eyes. Mommy, I'm scared. 3. Without waiting for a response, Sarah lunged forward, the shard aimed directly at Ronnie's heart. It felt like part of her soul was feeding the blade, a rush of power coursing through her veins. The darkness screamed, an ear-splitting cry that reverberated in Sarah's bones. Ronnie's figure flickered, a grotesque blend of rage and surprise twisting her expression as the shard grazed the edge of her form. In that instant, the shadows around Lily faltered, a brief respite of light shimmering through. Mommy, I can feel you. Lily cried, her voice gaining strength. The shadows around her body started to thin. I can stand. Hold on, sweetheart. Sarah urged, straining against the weight of the darkness. The air was thick, nearly suffocating. Desperation and fear battled within her, creating a storm that mirrored the chaos surrounding them, but Ronnie, regaining her equilibrium, shot forward like a snake struck by rage. You think you can defeat me? This is merely the beginning. With a hiss, Ronnie raised her hands, and the shadows snapped back, coiling tighter around Lily, squeezing her tight. Sarah's heart dropped, the darkness was smothering her daughter once more. Lily, focus on my voice. Don't let her take you. Mommy. Lily screamed, panic clawing at her throat. The shadows choked her words, but she shook her head, forcing her will to break free. A small beam of light flickered in her eyes, a hint of the child Sarah knew was still in there. Concentrate, Lily. Remember the stories, remember our dreams. Sarah gasped, her throat raw. As the shadows constricted, Sarah's thoughts raced. If the shadows were a reflection of fear, of despair, then perhaps they could be harnessed turned back against the darkness. Ronnie! Sarah shouted, determination fueling her voice. You thrive on fear, don't you? But fear can be a weapon. We will turn this against you. The air itself seemed to thrum as Sarah's words danced through the chaos. A strange energy gathered, merging with the shards of glass around them, each one gleaming like little stars in the consuming night. Tendrils lashed at her, biting her arms and legs, but she pressed on, imagining each shard becoming part of a barrier against the abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. Join me, Lily. We will fight together. I'm here. Lily's voice broke through, stronger now, intertwining with her mother's cries. I'm with you. I won't let her control me. With that alliance of hearts and wills, the ground trembled as Sarah and Lily united their powers, channeling their fear into a swirling storm of defiance. Light erupted from their joined forces, illuminating Ronnie's twisted visage, but just as the light surged, a shadow far darker than Ronnie erupted behind her. A figure emerged, its eyes glowing with a haunting malevolence that froze Sarah in place, her breath caught in her throat. The malevolent spirit loomed larger than both of them, and with each step, despair thickened the air. You think you can defy the darkness? It thundered, voice rumbling like distant thunder. You have only just begun to awaken my true power. Panic washed over Sarah. Was this what Ronnie had planned all along, a trap? As the shadows coiled tightly around them, Sarah realized they might have made a grave mistake. And as the darkness began to take form beyond Ronnie's wrath, fear twisted back into her heart. Lily, what do we do now? The question echoed into the suffocating void, leading into a chilling silence that promised unimaginable horrors lying just beyond the reach of their new light. The looming darkness swirled like a tempest, its tendrils thrashing in an unholy dance of terror. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing fear that echoed back from the malevolent spirit. What do we do now? The question hung in the air, charged with desperation. Mommy, Lily's voice trembled, barely more than a whisper. Her small figure fought against the grip of the shadows, the shimmering light from their combined powers flickering like a dying candle. I can't hold on much longer. No, Sarah's breath hitched. The pressure around them intensified, like a vice tightening around her chest. But she couldn't give in. Not now. Think, Sarah. We have something she doesn't together. Lily offered, though faintly. Her spirit flickered, just like the light that surrounded them. Yes. Together. The words burst forth, a lifeline amidst the encroaching darkness that yearned to pull them under. Channeling every ounce of love and strength, Sarah concentrated, envisioning the bond she shared with her daughter. The years of laughter, the stories told in the dark, cuddles during thunderous nights, all those moments tied them together like roots of an ancient oak. We're stronger than fear. She yelled. The light brightened for a heartbeat. Sarah felt it pulse through her, igniting her shattered resolve. The shadowy figure hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing its features. She seized the moment. Lily, focus on all the things we cherish. Let the darkness feed off our strength, our memories. Lily nodded, finally rising against the shadows. Her small hands wrapped around Sarah's as they stood shoulder to shoulder. The park. Remember the swings, Mommy? Yes. And the flowers. Sarah remembered then, a rush of warmth filling her heart. The way they danced in the wind. As they spoke memories aloud, the very fabric of their bond radiated outward. Color exploded from them, the cheerful hues of sunrise, the lush greens of a meadow, the endless blue of summer sky. The shadows recoiled, hissing as light lanced through the darkness. Ronnie. You thrive on fear, but we will not give you our terror. Sarah shouted. We choose love. Suddenly, the shadows screeched, more animal than human, and Ronnie crumbled. Yet the ominous figure behind her transformed, twisting like a liquid shadow, revealing a face that was all too familiar. A cruel smile stretched across its features. It was an embodiment of Sarah's darkest memories, fears she thought long buried. You think you can escape your past? It taunted, voice oily and thick. I am what you refuse to confront. No. No. Sarah gripped Lily's hand tighter, dread pooling in her stomach. They had to push through. We face this together. Fight. Fight. As they unleashed their combined light, a shockwave surged. It lanced through the chamber, blasting away the darkness that had encased them. But the figure stood firm, a harbinger of despair and dread. With every ounce of their shared love, they drove toward it, a burning, living beacon, but just as the last flicker of hope surged forth, the entity screeched a sound so deafening it felt as though the very world would shatter. An aberration of chaos erupted, darkness spilling as Ronnie shrieked in fury. Your love is weak. The creature howled, stretching its shadowy limbs like grasping claws. You cannot escape. I will consume you. Sarah's resolve wavered at the overwhelming weight of the darkness. Doubt wormed into her heart, but she remembered Lily's small, determined face. Together. They shouted, a rallying cry against the encroaching terror, but the shadows surged, and Sarah felt something snap as a crack opened in the fabric of reality, a gateway to something unspeakable beyond. In that moment, the potential for salvation lay unclear. Would love triumph against the rising tide of anguish, or would fear choke the last remnants of hope? Mommy! Lily screamed, eyes wide with terror as they teetered on the brink of the abyss. The answer formed in the darkness, a silent scream that echoed back each heartbeat. And so they waited. What would emerge from the void, and would they stand united against it? The crack in reality widened, a gaping maw of blackness threatening to swallow them whole. Sarah felt the chilling breath of an unseen terror brushing against her skin, sending shivers of dread coursing through her veins. The air grew heavy, thick with despair as shadows coiled tighter around them, whispering unspeakable secrets. Mommy, what is happening? Lily's voice cut through the haze, a thin thread of panic. Her wide eyes searched Sarah's for reassurance, but all she found was the reflection of her own fear mirrored back at her. Stay close. Sarah gripped Lily's hand, feeling the warmth in her tiny fingers flicker like a candle in a storm. They had to hold on, to stay anchored against the tide of darkness clawing at their minds. A low growl resonated from the depths of the crack, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. The shadows responded, shrieking with rage, their sporadic movements mimicking the chaos of a tempest. The familiar face, the face of her torment, loomed larger, each feature twisted in malevolence. Remember me? It hissed, voice dripping with malice. I am every regret and every nightmare you've buried so deep. I thrive in the shadows of your thoughts. No. Sarah screamed. You're nothing but a figment. You can't touch us. Can't I? A sinister laugh reverberated through the chamber, sending icy tendrils of dread crawling down her spine. The darkness grew bolder, spilling forward like a sea of black void. With every beat of her heart, it crept closer, threatening to drown them in an ocean of despair. You think you're strong, but your love is fragile. It taunted, twisting in grotesque mockery of her fiercest memories. You cling to it like a lifeline, but it only makes you vulnerable. Look at all you've lost. Look at all the shadows. Images flooded Sarah's mind, her father's worried eyes, the day he had left, the distant laughter of friends now only echoes. The shadows painted them in vibrant despair, each memory a dagger buried into her conscience. Mommy, don't listen. Lily shouted, her voice trembling but fierce. We can do this together. Remember the light. Remember the love. Sarah focused on Lily's shining spirit, the light that pulsed between them like a tether unbroken. They had battled darkness before, they could do it again. With renewed resolve, she pulled her daughter nearer. Right. We push back. The bond between them flared, a burning light in the suffocating darkness. Sarah called upon every cherished moment they had, every laugh, every cuddle, the warmth of comfort in hard times. They poured that love into their hands, and with a collective shout, they thrust it forward like a shield. The darkness shrieked, a cacophony of rage and disbelief. Shadows crashed against the light, flickering as though caught in a storm. For a moment, it seemed the darkness faltered, retreating with a whimper as their love burned brighter. But then, without warning, the entity lunged forward with terrifying force. You cannot escape your past. It roared, a blinding flash of black surging toward them, threatening to drown their spark in an avalanche of memories. Sarah felt the darkness ripple through her, the weights of every regret crashing into her psyche like thunder. Fight. We have to fight. Sarah gasped, as doubt seeped into her thoughts again. She felt her knees weaken. Had it all been in vain? But then she looked at Lily, whose little spark glimmered defiantly amidst the darkness. We are stronger. They chanted together, rallying against the onslaught. The shadows paused, trembling as if sensing the power of their unity, yet, just as they thought they might overcome, the ground shook violently, sending them reeling. A fissure yawned wider, an abyss promising only despair. What will emerge from the void now? Sarah whispered, heart pounding, teetering above the precipice of nightmares. And as they braced for the worst, an ominous whisper rose, clawing toward their ears. Your worst fears are yet to come. Was it possible to withstand what lay ahead, or would they be overwhelmed by the darkness lurking just beyond? With a deafening crash, the shadows surged and broke against their light, drowning Sarah's defiance in a tide of darkness. She felt Lily's grip slip, felt her little body pulled slowly into the depths. Mommy! The shriek was like a blade, slicing through the chaos around them. No! Sarah lunged forward, grasping wildly at the air. She could see her daughter's silhouette fading, a tiny shape swallowed by the inky void. Panic clawed at her throat. I won't lose you. She felt the weight of her own fear, the crushing grip of despair, but she would not let it consume them. Drawing on every ounce of strength burning in her heart, she concentrated on the bond between them. Lily! Look for me. I'm here. Her voice wove through the shadows like a thread, bright and steady. But the darkness writhed with envy, hungry for despair. Lily's eyes suddenly appeared, shimmering pools of innocence shimmering through the black. Mommy! Help! A horrifying roar erupted, and Sarah spun to face the source. The entity's form solidified from the shadows, looming and monstrous. Its eyes glowed with a sickly sheen, burning with a twisted hunger. Let her go. She is a beacon of hope, fragile and weak. No! Sarah shouted, as her heart raced. With each word from the creature, shadows reached for Lily, tendrils curling like greedy fingers trying to snatch her away. You'll never take her. The throbbing light of their love flared again, pulsing in defiance. Sarah moved forward, pouring every ounce of her fearlessness into this final push. You don't know us. We are stronger together. With that declaration, a brilliant light exploded from their combined strength, splattering the dark walls of the void with glimmering sparks. The entity shrieked, its form flickering between corporeal and ethereal. No! I will devour your light. It screeched, lunging with terrifying speed. The entire chasm seemed to shake as reality quaked around them. As Sarah felt the rush of power, she could see fear in this creature's eyes. It cannot be, your love, it shouldn't exist. They came together, pulling light from every cherished moment, her father's warmth, laughter on sunlit days, stolen glances between her and Lily. The light intensified, filling the void with colors and warmth, a rebuke to the darkness that suffocated them. You're just a vessel of my fears. And I am done living in fear. Lily's small laugh danced through the turmoil, her spirit entwined with Sarah's together. They shouted, their voices uniting as one bright flame, but then, in a split second, the shadows roared back. You think you can erase me? The sheer weight of terror crashed upon them, as the boundaries of the void rippled dangerously. With a blinding flash, the darkness stung Sarah's soul, fresh memories clawing at her mind, exposing her greatest failings, replaying heart-wrenching moments of loss. She staggered back, the flood of self-doubt threatening to drag her under. No. Sarah gasped, sunlight stirring in the pit of her stomach. She reached out to Lily, who stood unwavering, the light of innocence shining brighter than ever. The echoes of her regret spiraled deeper, but she stared into those bright eyes. Come on, Mommy. We won, let it win. Lily insisted fiercely. Together, they fought. They felt each string of love, every moment that mattered, and they wove them into a net of radiant energy. The shadows surged again, a tidal wave of malevolence crashing toward them. And then silence. Just for a heartbeat, a quiet moment deep in the void. What now? Sarah whispered, hope threaded with uncertainty. And then it struck, a storm of shadows ready to consume them both. Suddenly, from the depths, a voice boomed, a stronger darkness awakens. Are you prepared to lose even more? The ground cracked again, wider, threatening not just to separate them but to unleash a fury deeper than they could imagine. How much more could they withstand? The shadows began to twist violently. It was as if the very fabric of their world was tearing apart. Sarah's heart raced, pounding like a drum in the depths of a storm. Each crack in the ground sent a ripple of dread through her body. She could feel the darkness closing in, a suffocating embrace that whispered of despair and hopelessness. Mommy! It's coming! Lily urged, her voice tinged with fear yet clutching to that same fierce spark of hope. The girl's tiny form illuminated against the blackness became the focus of Sarah's gaze, her only anchor. Hold on, Lily. We can do this. Sarah shouted, her voice strong despite the shrouding terror. She felt the heat of love burning deep within her, but the encroaching shadows were relentless, pushing against her will like a tidal wave. A deafening laugh echoed through the void, malevolent and chilling. You think your light can outshine the dark? You are mere mortals, stumbling into a world where I reign. Your love means nothing to me. The shadows howled in unison, malevolent wind curling around her, making her skin crawl. No. Sarah shouted, desperation fueling her resolve. You underestimate us. Love is a weapon and we are its fighters. She could feel the rush of energy surging, but it was so hard to concentrate, so hard to remain steady in the midst of chaos. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Sarah reached deep into the well of memories, the warmth of Lily's laughter, the peace of quiet evenings, and the taste of sweet victories. Each fragment of joy conjured a radiance that pushed back against the consuming darkness, momentarily staving off the creeping shadows, but the silence that followed was too brief. Suddenly the shadows recoiled, and an icy wind swept through the chasm. You're foolish to think memories can change fate, the voice sneered, thick with condescension. There are greater horrors that linger in the dark. You think this is the end of your despair? And with that, the shadows split, revealing a swirling vortex of unknown terrors, figures cloaked in despair, lost souls trapped in eternal anguish. They reached out with bony fingers, their mouths agape in silent screams, pulling Sarah's heart into a tumult. Mommy! They're coming for us! Lily cried, eyes wide, an agonized plea for reassurance. I know. But we're stronger together. Sarah shouted back, panic settling in her chest yet again. She had no idea how long they could hold their ground against the flood of malice. The shadows expanded, each tendril winding tighter around them. Sarah felt the darkness claw at her spirit, inch by inch, dragging her into despair. Its promises of hopelessness echoed relentlessly in her mind. You will never escape your fears, you will never get away from the darkness, no. Sarah screamed again, futilely. But as her strength waned, the memory of her father's embrace flickered in her mind, grounding her. We have to keep fighting. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of rage as the ground shook violently beneath them. Then let us see how much you truly care, mother. Turning to the vortex, she gasped as apparitions emerged, faces twisted with torment, each one resembling a lost loved one, shadows of her past coming to life in excruciating clarity. Mom! Save me! A voice echoed, and there her sister stood, eyes pleading, ethereal and sorrowful. You left me behind, don't let this darkness consume you too. Terror surged through Sarah like ice in her veins. No. Not this. Not now. I want to let you take her, not like this. She felt her chest tightening, memories flooding, memories she had hidden deep in the corners of her mind, but just as she thought she could retreat from the memories, the void twisted, opening its maw wider, threatening to pull her not only from her daughter's light but from her very sanity. Mommy! Lily cried as shadows crawled closer, each step bringing with it ancient dread. Look at me, sweetheart! Sarah shouted, grasping desperately within the aching void for any scrap of courage. But would it be enough to face what lay just beyond the fringes of their fading light? The shadows converged, a menacing storm drawn towards them, and still, the voice of the darkness laughed. You may fight, but the worst is yet to come. What's waiting in the abyss ready to strike? The darkness twisted and churned, an unfathomable storm ready to swallow them whole. Sarah felt it seeping into her bones, chilling her blood. The apparition of her sister loomed closer, her hollow eyes filled with sorrow, but rather than retreating, Sarah felt a spark ignite within her, a fury born of love. No! She shouted, defiance rippling in her voice. You will not take her. Mommy! Lily's voice trembled like a fragile thread caught in the wind. Help me! Don't look away, baby. I'm right here. Sarah's heart raced as she gripped Lily's hand tighter, feeling each pulse of their love fight against the surging shadows. With every ounce of strength coursing through her, she recalled their fondest memories, the laughter shared over ice cream, the bedtime stories, the gentle kiss on Lily's forehead. Each cherished moment crystallized in her mind, an unyielding shield against despair. Together. She breathed, focusing on the bond that rooted them both to the light. As the shadows swirled closer, their chilling tendrils brushing against her skin like icy fingers, Sarah took a deep breath. We will fight this darkness with everything we are. A golden radiance pulsed between them, shimmering brightly against the encroaching gloom. Suddenly, a deep growl rumbled from the abyss, the darkness quivering in response. You think you can escape me? Ronnie's ghostly voice echoed, rippling with disdain. You are nothing without your fears. Embrace the darkness. You belong to it now. No. We belong to each other. Sarah's voice boomed with fierce determination. And in that instant, the memories transformed into a blinding light, lashing out against the pitch-black space as if snapping the chains that bound them. Light exploded from Sarah and Lily, washing over them like a tidal wave, vibrant and alive. Overwhelmed, the shadows shrieked in agony, recoiling from their radiance. For the first time, Sarah saw fear welling in Ronnie's eyes as the shadows faltered. Lily, remind me of our happiest times. Sarah urged. The park, Mommy. The swings. Lily cried, eyes shimmering. We had so much fun. Yes. The flowers in spring, how they danced in the breeze. Sarah shouted, channeling every joyful moment they had shared. The shadows writhed at the mention, their forms shifting and shrinking in response to the memories cascading forth. With each cherished memory they spoke aloud, the darkness shrieked, the sound piercing like thunder in a storm, but Ronnie, relentless, surged forward. You cannot defeat what is inside of you. I am your grief, your despair. You've only scratched the surface. But Sarah dug her heels in. No. We are light. We are love. In a final surge, the warmth emanating from Sarah and Lily erupted like fireworks, illuminating the void in pure color. Tendrils of darkness curled away, writhing as if burned by the very light that surged from their hearts. With a sudden blast, the light converged, forming a brilliant barrier against the shadows. They felt a tremor in the air, the darkness pulsing with an unearthly anger. I will come back for you. Ronnie howled, her form dissipating as she was forced back into the depths from whence she came. I think it's working. Lily exclaimed, eyes wide with awe, glimmering with hope. Just hold on. Sarah urged. We can do this. Together. Lily tightened her grip, squeezing Sarah's hand. Right then and there in that moment, they felt an unbreakable bond form, a tether woven from love, courage, and the promise of light. As they pushed against the collapsing shadows, Sarah heard Ronnie's voice fading gradually, replaced by the sounds of gentle whispers, the kind that spoke of hope, renewal, and warmth, like the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon. You've won this battle, but I will return, Mother, not if we stand together. Sarah yelled defiantly, pressing forth with Lily by her side, and just like that, the shadows erupted in a final horrifying scream, spiraling into nothingness. Reality began stitching itself back together, gentle warmth flooding where darkness had reigned. They both stood, heartbeats steadying as the room brightened, colors returning to every corner of their home. Sarah turned to Lily, pulling her into a fierce embrace, feeling her heart race with gratitude and relief. We did it. Lily's voice rang clear and bright. Yes. Sarah replied, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. We are stronger than anything that tries to hurt us. The darkness lingered at the edges of their thoughts but could no longer hold the same power it once did. As the sun broke through, casting golden rays across the room, Sarah smiled at her daughter, a promise made in that moment. Whatever haunted them would not claim their joy again. Because together, they were unstoppable. Let us go out and play. Lily exclaimed, now bright and radiant. Yes, my love, Sarah replied, brushing hair from her daughter's face. The world is ours. Their laughter echoed through the house, a joyful melody bursting forth to greet the morning. The shadows had retreated, but they would always remain vigilant. And as they stepped out into the sunlit world, a sense of peace enveloped them, holding tight the possibility of new beginnings. Now stand up and reclaim your light. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that await. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep bringing these spine-tingling tales to life. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how you would have faced the darkness, and remember to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because true fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second.